Is Trump going to hit Iran with everything that the United States knows how to do? Maybe yes, maybe no. There are days when we're thinking it's going to come, and he managed to convince the world that that's the issue. There are days that it seems that he's kind of backing off. But whatever is happening, we're approaching a decisive moment. And I truly believe that the United States of America may be forced to strike Iran, whether it wants to or not. Behind the scenes, America is getting ready. It's preparing for a possible strike. By the way, not only America, the allies too. Carrier groups are moving into the Middle East. The Abraham Lincoln is going to be here in a few days. Air assets are moving to different platforms in different places in the Middle East. Logistic platforms are landing in Diego Garcia. Everything is already moving towards a strike. It's not signaling. This is the United States of America preparing for a strike. This isn't a message, but what it's trying to do is deal with the fallout. The idea is not only to facilitate the strike, I mean, do what needs to be done, but I think there's another objective that is kind of playing out very clearly to prevent the balagan that's going to happen after. To stop Iran from disrupting the freedom of navigation, but specifically in a very critical area, to stop Iran from turning the whole Middle East into a powder keg, and basically not only to strike, and I think that's why President Trump put it off, but to deal with the ramifications. That's one of the reasons, according to a lot of foreign press, okay, that Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel and other Gulf states were putting pressure on Trump that you have to deal also what happens after the strike and not only the strike itself. Inside Iran, in the meantime, there's movies coming out of them breaking into houses. There's moving coming out of hundreds and thousands of bodies. We're not sure what the numbers are, but the Iranian regime is not backing down. It's not backing down, even though it knows that it has an economic cost, and it is willing to pay it in every way possible, in blood, in diplomatic, in everything that it has. Yet the opposition in Iran is still saying a revolution is possible, an overthrow is possible. They're saying that if a strike occurs, it will not only be about overthrowing the Iranian government, but it'll be about the whole change in the Middle East. For Donald Trump, this is also about credibility. This is Donald J. Trump, the sheriff of the world. And when he says something, it's going to happen. And he says if they continue to kill their people, then he will strike. America's credibility has already been damaged, and it will be damaged by a limited kind of responsive. He needs a decisive move now that would weaken not only Tehran, but would send a message to the whole anti American axis in the world, including Russia. It lines up with what happened in Venezuela and including the whole Greenland thing, where he's kind of conveying to the Europeans when I want to do something, this is what I need to do. This is David Tal. This is the Balagan Connection, and we're going to go into a little bit of analysis that is going to explain why Washington may conclude that it no longer has an option. It has no choice. It will need to pull off a major strike. On Friday, Mossad Director David Barnett arrived in the United States and sat down in Florida with American officials, and the main subject is Iran. He was expected to meet Witkoff, probably to meet with the president himself. We're not sure if that happened, but within less than 24 hours, Trump has spoken twice on the phone with Benjamin Netanyahu, and there's even rumors that Trump might be coming out to the Middle East. According to reports, Israel urged Washington to delay the strike by 7 days, not out of hesitation. Believe me, Israel wants the United States of America to hit Iran, but out of a calculation that time is needed to reinforce Israel's air defenses. Time is needed for more American forces to arrive in the region. And the assessment was pretty clear. The original American strike package was not enough to bring down the Iranian regime. And if you strike and the regime doesn't come down, that is a worse situation. So America's been transporting aircraft. We've seen aircraft moving from Western Europe towards Diego Garcia, a strategic base in the Indian Ocean that actually sits on control of the entrance into the Persian Gulf. From there, the U.S. bombers are expected to operate against Iran. But from there, more or less, you can actually keep tabs on what's happening in this very, very sensitive bottleneck of the Horns of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf. At the same time, the Abraham Lincoln, who was previously on training near the Philippines, is now moving towards the Arabian Sea, and it will be in a couple days. The idea is very clear: to block any Iranian attempt to disrupt the maritime travel. That is the bloodline of the world economy. And the last thing Donald Trump wants to do is to create a serious wound in the movement of oil from place to place. For Washington and its Gulf allies, I think that the greatest fear is not the missiles over Israel. By the way, missiles over Israel is not the reason for all of this. The biggest fear is the closure of the shipping lanes. How would they do it? There's a whole question. I mean, we're looking at what's going on in Iran. They've been hit by Israel. They've been hit by the United States. Why are we still afraid of this? One of the things we need to take in consideration that Iran does have massive military power. It's a little bit unconventional. It's not big aircraft carriers or a massive air force. But one of the threats that we're talking about are fast attack boats, swarms of fast attack boats. They have quite a few submarines. They have coastal missile batteries that can actually do devastating things to shipping. And they do specialize in suicide drone and all kinds of drones warfare. And a lot of things that a lot of people don't think about are naval mines. You put a minefield, or you put even a couple of mines at a strategic area, then you're creating a situation where no shipping will go through until those mines are cleared out. A coordinated dynamic with all of these systems together could be the last ditch attempt of the regime to prevent its collapse. And together with that, a massive rocket barrage on Israel. And we still remember that even though the Israeli anti-missile system managed to hold back or managed to hit or intercept most of the missiles that Iran fired. I mean, they fired 500 at us in one of the attacks. Okay, some did get through, and 28 Israelis lost their lives, and whole neighborhoods were decimated. So, a premature strike by the United States without sufficient force could trigger overwhelming pressure to halt the operation. If the Gulf states, the Europeans, by the way, completely sidelined, okay? But all of these considerations are being mostly driven by the price of oil or the price of gas. A few days of fighting would not be enough to collapse the regime, and I think that's what's happening. I think we realize that it's not broken enough for it to completely fall apart. And that's the main idea. At the Miami conference this week, Witkoff actually said that his opening negotiations are still keeping the negotiations with the Iranians open, but only on one condition. And here's the question that Israel's in right now. The conditions are they stop all the enriching of uranium. They remove all of the 412 kilograms, 888 pounds, if I remember the number correctly. So they remove all of that. They stop all enrichment. They put limits on Iran's proxy network. That means no help for the Hezbollah, no help for Hamas. And what Iran is doing by negotiating, they have done this in the past, is to buy time. I think that's what's going on right now. Iran is deep into a hole, and the only thing they are trying to do right now is survive. Nobody really knows what's going on with the protests inside. The regime claims that it's taking control. It told Trump that it's stopping the executions. We're not sure how that is if that is going to happen. And Trump has said that the executions could trigger a strike. We're not sure how much that is clear. But I think that what Trump has done is said, okay, I'm waiting. The area, the players in the area are saying we need to get prepared for this. But I think that America will not have a choice. because not striking Iran will make America lose credibility, will leave an Iranian threat in the Middle East for the near future, which will mean that Israel might have to take matters into its own hands, and that will put pressure on this Abrahamic whatever organization that's going on. So in the meantime, Iran is losing billions by keeping its internet closed. It's mobilizing its interior forces. So there's this balancing act that is happening right now. There are news of thousands of foreign Shiite militia fighters from Iraq, maybe even from Lebanon and Syria, have moved into Iran to be a part of this. They say that these militias are responsible for most of the most lethal repression because they're not Persian and they feel no connection to the local population. So that's what we know or think is happening right now in Iran. In the meantime, Iranian officials are accusing Israel and the United States of financing the protesters and smuggling weapons into Iran. In the meantime, Israel's response has been stay in readiness, make sure the bomb shelters are ready. I talked to my mom, there's water in our bomb shelter, and no really change to what's going on. Interesting point is that President Putin has said that he has spoken with Netanyahu and he has actually put together an effort to mediate between Russia and Iran. Just since we are talking about the Russian again issue, the fall of the Iranian regime would be catastrophic for Russia. Much, much worse than the fall of the Syrian regime and Assad. It would cost Russia a strategic partner, an energy ally, a military supplier, and especially after what happened in Venezuela, Russia's in a very serious problem as far as partners and allies are concerned. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, everybody's reorganizing itself. And I really, really don't think that this is over. We're going to have to wait for the next couple of days to see what's going on. So to bring it back to the beginning of this, whether he does or doesn't, as of now, I don't think that Trump actually has the luxury of restraint. After thousands of Iranian civilians have been lost without any intervention, even though he promised, America's credibility is already damaged. Even now, the strike might be considered too late, but not striking would be considerably worse. Leaving a strong Iran in place would be considerably worse. Even though a diplomatic breakthrough is possible, it only is an option if Iran's leadership chooses survival over ideology. They're going to have to give up their ideology, and I don't think this will happen. So we're looking at a conflict that could last a week or several more weeks. If it succeeds, the regime falls. If a pro-Western government comes out of this, the global anti-American axis would suffer a historic blow. That would not be just a military victory, it would be a revolution. So strategically, the bottom line means that we are looking at an American strike in Iran. The only question is when and what will that be? Let's add another piece to all of this. In the northern part of Syria, the Kurdish rebels have handed over the weapons, have given over their fight. That means that Ashara or El Julani, whatever you want to call them, has managed to glue more of Syria together. And in the south, the situation in Gaza is not static. We're moving into what President Trump's plan was, the second stage. The United States has declared it wants to start the post-war governing framework. There's a peace government that's coming together. The timeline is unclear, but they're talking about something really, really close. And it's going to be an administration that runs Gaza after everything is done. The administration is going to be run by different players. Israel has stated very clearly that we don't want Qatar and we don't want Turkey in that dynamic. The United States of America has probably given in to Qatar and Turkey, and we will see them as part of this. But the one core condition that was the disarmament of Hamas has not yet happened. I think that's a problem. But despite this, Washington appears to be willing to push Turkey and Qatar into this, to push the whole thing into some kind of process. And right now, we're going to have to see how Israel deals with the United States government saying we want to finish this no matter what. And it might be that Hamas is just by surviving and standing out, may live to tell a tale at the end of this. We'll see what's going to happen. We'll keep you updated on this. So, as the Iranian question approaches its possible ending, Gaza is quietly entering another political situation. Syria is calming down. So we're seeing everything hinged right now on this strike in Iran and what are going to be the ramifications of that. That's where we are right now. Pray for us. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I will be going back to Israel in a couple of weeks to connect to what's going on there. We will be bringing information out of Israel. And again, like before, if this clip brought information, helped you understand, please like, subscribe, send this to somebody, comment below. We love the comments. And if you do want merchandise, by the way, we put some merchandise up. There's Balagan Connection t-shirts and hats and things like that. So let's keep this going. We will be in touch in a couple of days. This is David Todd. This is a Balagan Connection. Hope to see you again soon.